Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am John Wilmoth. I am the Director of the Population Division of the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. And since mid-March, I have also been serving as Acting Director of the Division for Inclusive Social Development, which is also a part of UNDESA. It's a pleasure to join you here today to moderate this side event on the role of technology and digital innovation in supporting the reproductivity and reaching of persons with disabilities. I would like to start by thanking the organizer of this event, the government of Qatar. This event is very timely and pertinent. Its topic overlaps with one of this year's sub-themes of the Conference of States Parties, which concerns the sexual and reproductive health of persons with disabilities. Earlier this week at Roundtable 1 of the conference, we heard from governments and other stakeholders about the persistent challenges that still confront persons with disabilities in this important aspect of their lives. Today's event is bringing together eminent speakers and a distinguished panel to discuss a promising pathway for meeting those challenges. Over the next hour or so, we will examine the role of technology and digital innovation in advancing the reproductive health of persons with disabilities, supporting their reproductivity and ensuring that they are not left behind. We will begin with opening remarks by Her Excellency Ambassador Ali Ahmed bin Saif Al Thani, Permanent Representative of the State of Qatar to the United Nations. She will be followed by two keynote speakers, Her Excellency Minister Mariam bint Ali bin Nasser Al Mishnad, Minister of Social Development and Family of Qatar, and by Mr. Li Junhua, Under-Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations. After the interventions of the two keynote speakers, a distinguished panel of 5 speakers will present and discuss suggestions and guidance on the potential of technology and digital innovation in supporting the reproductive health of persons with disabilities. After those presentations, the floor will be open for questions. Thus, without further ado, I am delighted to introduce Her Excellency Ambassador Al Thani to deliver her opening remarks. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, dear John, for this kind introduction. أصحاب السعادة الحضور.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to welcome you all in this side event co-hosted by the State of Qatar and World Health Organization as well as IDA to discuss a highly important matter relating to exploring the decisive role of technology and digital innovation in bolstering the reproductive rights of persons with disabilities. Enhancing and protecting the rights of persons with disabilities are among the State of Qatar's development priorities. The State of Qatar is one of few states in the world that have adequate laws and institutions fully responding to the needs of persons with disabilities. These laws and institutions are incorporated in Qatar's 2030 National Vision in appreciation of the significance of human rights in general and the rights of persons with disabilities. They are also integrated into Qatar's development strategy, including the strategy which is currently elaborated 2023-2030. The objective is to incorporate the rights and needs in their policies relating to education, health, employment under the care of Her Excellency Mrs. Mariam bint Ali ibn Nasser al-Mishnad, the Minister for Social Development and Family in the State of Qatar, where the Qatari Ministry of Social Development and Family deployed considerable efforts in support of persons with disabilities. I'm delighted to inform you that in its capacity as chair of 42nd meeting of the Council of the Arab Ministers for Social Affairs last January, the State of Qatar hosted a high-level ministerial meeting under the motto Persons with Disabilities and Multidimensional Poverty, implementing the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda and beyond. In its declaration, the ministerial meeting welcomed the State of Qatar's prospective hosting of the 4th World Conference on Disability 2028 in Doha in collaboration with the General Secretariat of the Arab League States. I am very proud of the declaration's commendation of Qatar's endeavors in organizing the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, being the more inclusive and smooth World Cup. I will stop here since we will listen to Her Excellency the Minister, and we will listen and we welcome the presence of the representatives and delegations here, and we look forward to fruitful discussion, and thank you very much.
Ani, thank you for your thoughtful opening remarks. Now I introduce the first keynote speaker, Her Excellency Minister El Mishnad. She is the Minister of Social Development and the Family of Qatar. Qatar has been a pioneer of disability inclusion and a strong advocate for the protection of the rights of persons with disabilities. Qatar was among the first states to ratify the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And in 2019, it organized an international conference on disability and development, which included a discussion about the reproductive health of persons with disabilities. Minister Al-Mishnad, the floor is yours.
In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your presence today. I would like first to talk about some of the challenges that people with disabilities are facing, especially women and their reproductive health, and how technology or technological solutions that have been proposed to solve these problems. At the outset, allow me to say that 1/5 of women, of disabled women, represent 1/5 of the population of the world. They can reproduce like all other women, and they have all the needs, reproductive needs. Studies have proved that women are more vulnerable to disabilities than men. I would like also to emphasize what those women face, obstacles based on their gender and disability, and that does not provide them with health, reproductive services, and shortages, lack of information on means, on ways and means of reproductive health, as well as communicable diseases and their subjection to violence, as well as discovering, diagnosing cancers. Their exclusion from awareness projects in the world, in addition to the maltreatment when requesting advice, and therefore they don't ask for it, and the cesarean operations are imposed on them. However, I would like to mention what Qatar has done in this respect. Qatar was among the first countries that ratified the convention in 2008 by removing or establishing the Center of Haba with a governmental portal for people with disabilities that allows them how to access social security, information on reproductive health, information on acquiring the suitable accommodation and other services that could be reached through the portal of another center. We pay monthly allotments to people with disabilities, and we train those who provide medical care, because there is a big shortage in the type of people who provide services specialized in this field to women. We led intensive training for those who provide services in the field of reproductive health, and to increase the awareness of women in this field, especially by those who provide services. We have also, cannot forget, the hotlines to provide advice on violence to which women and children are subjected, women with disabilities, and therefore, and the hotlines to provide help, social assistance, especially women as well as fathers, on how to deal with the new family that is about to be formed. I would thank you for listening, kind listening. I would like to say that we are with the National Alliance on Disabilities. We did talk about conducting what is called an event during September, relative, and one of its was reproductive health of people with disabilities, because it's considered one of the issues that concern us during September, and we call on each and all to participate in this event from Arab countries. I would thank you for your kind attention. Shukran.
Convention on the importance of reproductive health for persons with disabilities and on the initiatives implemented by Qatar. The next keynote speaker is Mr. Lee Jinhua, Under-Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations. He heads the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, which has the mandate to support the follow-up to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Mr. Lee, the floor is yours.
Thank you, John. Well, Your Excellency, the Minister, Your Excellency, the Ambassador, Excellencies, dear colleagues, good afternoon. On behalf of the UN DESA, I warmly welcome you to this event held in the margins of the 16th session of the Conference of the State Parties to the Convention on the Rights of the Persons with Disabilities. The event addresses the two simply disparate issues: closing the digital divide for persons with disabilities and the upholding of their sexual and reproductive rights. Our discussion here today will not only show how these two factors are intimately related, but will provide insight on how one can work to improve the other, and together strengthen the effective integration of the persons with disabilities in public life. Digital innovations and technology can be enablers of the progress in achieving the SDGs and implementing the Convention on the Rights of the Persons with Disabilities, including those related to the sexual and the reproductive health. As you know, access to sexual and reproductive health care service are an integral part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Convention on the Rights of the Persons with Disabilities. SDG 3 and SDG 5 called for protecting reproductive rights and for ensuring universal access to sexual and reproductive health care services. Likewise, the Convention on the Rights of the Persons with Disability also includes the relevant articles to uphold such rights. Yet, in many countries, persons with disabilities still have lower access to sexual and reproductive health care. Persons with disabilities in rural areas are even less likely to have access to appropriate care, information, and services. Digital platforms for sexual and reproductive health care, information, and services, including mobile health apps and telemedicine, have the potential to reach many persons with disabilities. However, these same technologies can also serve as barriers if they are not developed with the consideration of the needs and perspectives of the persons with disabilities. Relatedly, a persistent digital divide between the persons with and without disabilities have resulted in differential access to information and technologies. At the macro level, obstacles to technology transfer between countries create an additional barrier. Technology often does not reach persons with disabilities in the poorer countries that lack the resources to develop or import these technologies. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, the COVID-19 pandemic was a catalyst for increasing the role of the digital technologies in healthcare. However, The sharp rise in demand for healthcare resources during the pandemic resulted in policies and practices that failed to take into account the needs of the persons with disabilities. A window of opportunity now exists to adapt existing technologies and invest in the new digital products to make them accessible for all and to ensure that they respond to the needs of the persons with disabilities. To understand better the opportunities that the technology and digital innovation offer in realizing the SDGs and the CRPD in relations to sexual and reproductive health of persons with disabilities, let us focus on 4 key areas of action. First, it is essential to engage persons with disabilities and their representative organizations in the design of technologies and service programs. This should include employing persons with disabilities in technology firms, as they can offer valuable perspectives on development of the new technologies. Second, the international community can help by building capacity and supporting countries to develop, manage, and acquire crucial technologies that can assist persons with disabilities to achieve a high standard of sexual and reproductive health. Third, countries should adopt legislation on accessibility requirements for technologies, including digital technologies, guided by the existing international standards. Fourth, we must work to strengthen systems for monitoring and evaluating progress in use of the technologies and digital innovations for sexual and reproductive health by persons with disabilities. Data and information on the availability of the use of the technologies will be key in shaping disability-inclusive policies and programs. Excellencies, dear colleagues, as we stand at the midpoint for achieving the SDGs, there is increasing urgency of the implementing the 2030 Agenda with and for persons with disabilities, including for advancing their sexual and reproductive health. Qatar has been a leader in promoting disability-inclusive development. Let me just give you one of the best examples. In 2019, Qatar organized a major international conference on disability and development. The outcome document from this conference, known as a Qatar Declaration, has served as an invaluable reference for addressing many aspects of the disability-inclusive development, including for advancing reproductive rights and ensuring access to reproductive health care among persons with disabilities. I'm confident that rich discussions of today's event will be another important step in ensuring that all persons with disabilities everywhere have access to quality sexual and reproductive health care, information, and services. I thank you.
I thank the Undersecretary General for his global overview of the situation of persons with disabilities in the area of sexual and reproductive health, and for highlighting the role of multilateral cooperation and technology transfer in making key technologies available for persons with disabilities. I will now give the floor to Her Excellency Dr. Haifa Abu Ghazaleh, who is from the League of Arab States, an Assistant Secretary General and head of the Social Affairs Sector. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the Merciful, Your Excellency, the Minister for Social Affairs and the Chair of the 42nd Section, Mrs. Alia Al-Thani, the Permanent Representative, Mr. Liduk, the USG of DISA, Your Excellencies, Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Dr. Koch, the representative of the Secretary General for Peoples with Disabilities, and welcome you, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to participate with you on this matter, which is very important, relating to disabilities as well as digital development, and it is important to support this reproductive health for those persons with disabilities. This event, organized by Sisterly Qatar in cooperation with the partners, will crystallize the vision on the further understanding of digital innovation in support of persons with disabilities, which is in line with the Arab Summit in Algeria and its resolution under supporting cultural diversity and enhancing marriage. This emphasizes the importance of family being one unit, and this guarantees the upbringing of children and achieving the best practices that will institute the links between reproductive health and technology. Thus, further data will be established on this score. The Arab Initiative, launched in Qatar in the name of Mrs. Mesned. This is the first regional classification that takes into consideration the environmental, societal, and economic aspects of disabilities, as well as outlining data, elaborating implementable policies, and the medical situation that will increase reproductivity, and this requires increasing awareness. All this will not be achieved unless we deploy effective efforts depending on digitization and technology. On behalf of the Arab League meetings held last year in Saudi Arabia, the second Arab decade on disabilities living independently. This initiative revolves on technology and digitization, as well as buttressing the rights of people with disabilities. In next October, another meeting will be held in Qatar. Today's event is important in the forensic aspects of Qatar's achievements, being the chair of the 2028th conference, as well as the 16th conference of the State Parties 16. In conclusion, the League of Arab States and its institutions are pleased to cooperate with the State of Qatar in achieving international goals of the prospective conference of 2028. The distinctive performance by Qatar in FIFA 2022 is a case in point, indicating the importance of the World Cup session, and we hope this will achieve the lofty goals for persons with disabilities. I wish you success, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abu Ghazaleh, for sharing your perspective on this, the regional perspective from the League of Arab States. I will now give the floor to, I'm sorry, the order is out. I will now give the floor to Mr. Werner Obermeier, the WHO representative to the United Nations in New York. The World Health Organization has historically maintained a strong commitment to supporting the health and well-being of persons with disabilities, including for their sexual and reproductive health. Mr. Obermeier, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, John. Let me first also express appreciation to the State of Qatar for hosting this important event. It's a pleasure to see Minister Mariam here in New York again. The World Health Organization recently published a report on health equity for persons with disabilities, and it revealed significant health inequities that such persons experience and explore the factors that contribute to these inequities. In the context of sexual and reproductive health and rights, the evidence we have show that persons with disabilities often face physical barriers to access, including transportation, and their health needs, as you well know, are not met. The lack of information and communication materials, such as, for example, materials in Braille or easy read or sign language interpretation, can also hinder access to services. Persons with disabilities face a large range of discriminatory practices, such as increased risk of violence, abuse, and exploitation, and women and girls with disabilities in particular, those with intellectual or psychosocial disabilities, can be subject to involuntary contraception, abortion, and sterilization. Gender inequality also adds to the risk of violence against persons with disabilities, especially women and girls with disabilities, who are being 2 to 4 times more likely to experience intimate partner violence than those without disabilities. So digital technologies for health obviously bring enormous opportunity to overcome these challenges and advance health equity in the health sector, particularly in terms of sexual and reproductive health services. Technologies and innovation contribute to the empowerment of people and communities and also improve effectiveness and efficiency of integrated health services and delivery of care, specifically through the rapid expansion of interventions that WHO works on, such as mHealth, eHealth, and telehealth. However, the primary aim of digital health is to reach all, and the digital divide faced by different groups, including persons with disabilities, remains a barrier when addressing equity and advancements in digital health. So we must work together to adopt systems that enhance the digital delivery of health services by making the design of digital health solutions disability inclusive, and to ensure digital health strategies actually reflect the needs of the population. These needs need to be accompanied by awareness raising and digital and health literacy campaigns to ensure everyone can use such technologies. We must make sure that appliances and software are accessible to everyone through the adoption of international standards, such as the WHO and ITU Global Standards for Accessibility of Telehealth Services. These standards actually set requirements that governments and healthcare providers and manufacturers of telehealth platforms need to incorporate to ensure the provision of equitable, accessible, and safe healthcare services to persons with disabilities. Our guidance to standardize terminology to define digital health has been published, and we have issued several implementation guides on digital health and sexual and reproductive health. In this regard, it's imperative that health equity for persons with disabilities are at the center of these actions, and secondly, to ensure meaningful participation of all people and their representative organizations, many of who are here today. And thirdly, a key principle is to monitor and evaluate the extent to which these actions actually advance digital technologies for sexual and reproductive health, and how it leads to health equity. Investing in technologies and digital innovation and improving access to sexual and reproductive health services for marginalized populations such as persons with disabilities are two essential elements of advancing universal health coverage in countries. The World Health Organization is committed to advance this agenda with member states and all partners, and I am particularly grateful that the meeting here today, organized by the State of Qatar, is hopefully the beginning of a long conversation that has been in the making for quite some time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Obermeyer, for this comprehensive analysis of the challenges and opportunities of technology and digital innovations for improving the sexual and reproductive health of persons with disabilities. I now apologize, I got a little bit out of order on this last one. I was supposed to first give the floor to Mr. Vladimir Chuk. I will now give him the floor. He is the Executive Director of the International Disability Alliance. The Alliance was established in 1999 as a network of organizations of persons with disabilities, and it played a key role in the negotiation of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Mr. Chuk, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, John. Before I start, I would like to thank government of Qatar for bringing us here today to discuss these very important topics. Ladies and gentlemen, I will start by saying that in 2019, the situation on the rights of persons with disabilities looked, I would maybe even call it promising, very positive, maybe even promising. That was the first year after 2018 first Global Disability Summit, which resulted in 1,000 significant commitments. It was a year in which we saw adoption of the UN Disability Inclusion Strategy, First Security Council resolution addressing rights of persons with disabilities, Resolution 2475, and many more good news came for the first time for people with disabilities in 2019. However, we know what happened after that, and COVID and pandemic significantly changed the trajectory of the development of the rights of persons with disabilities internationally. We saw that with the COVID, with the war in Ukraine, with the financial crisis, that world leaders were quick to divert their focus and attention from the rights of persons with disabilities to other topics. So right now, it means that we need to do more. We need to collectively commit to bring back the priority of the disability on the tables of the world leaders. And that's why it is important that we are gathering today in New York to discuss these topics. However, I must, and we must be optimistic, and we have tools and we have promising opportunities that we should act on to continue on the journey of the rights of persons with disabilities. First of all, we will have SDG Summit in September, where we should really have a bold statements all together to confirm priority of disability. And I'm very happy from one hand that we have here with us Mr. Lee Yunhua, who will be helping us with this journey, I'm sure. And like we heard from Her Excellency Minister, that we will be jointly organizing a high-level event on the margins of that summit that will focus on disability. And I call you all that really we change the narrative, that we collectively need to change how we are addressing disability. So far, what we have done was not enough. Our message was not strong enough, and that's why it was very quickly to be forgotten and very quickly to be put on the side. We need to change how we are perceiving rights of persons with disabilities. These two topics of today are very important. From one side, digitalization is very critical for organizations of persons with disabilities, because while we recognize and understand that this can represent groundbreaking opportunities for inclusion, if digitalization progress is not implemented properly, meaning in consultation with organizations of persons with disabilities, there is a tendency that new developments, new technology, new digitalization innovation will even create new barriers. It will not bring us closer to the goal, it will take us further. Because if we still perceive accessibility as something ad hoc, something that will be coming post priori, we will not achieve what we want to do. So I'm offering and probably insisting that organizations of persons with disabilities should be part of the innovation of research and development of the new technologies out there. Finally, we are having different languages in the UN, and sometimes it is complicated to decipher even what we are talking about from time to time. But simply, topic of this event is the right to family. It is the right for persons with disabilities to have children and to make families. And that is something that is really, however strange it may sound to the people in this room, it is reality of many, many disabled people. I have many friends with disabilities, for example, some of my female friends that were advised that they cannot have children. Even more than one fantastically strange example where my friends that became wheelchair user after car accidents, they were advised that they cannot have children because their children will have disability, because car accidents is somehow like disease that is genetically inherited. I really cannot explain in the science that we know today how will that be justified. But she was strongly advised because her child will have disability, which makes no sense, which absolutely makes no sense. So we need to really recommend to change collectively how we are doing advocacy, how we are perceiving disability. We need this change, and let's start this change with September. And I'm super happy that we are here together announcing collectively between Qatar and IDA this bold initiative. And I'm looking forward to all of you joining us in this journey. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chuk, thank you for sharing these perspectives from organizations that represent the interests of persons with disabilities. And I now turn to give the floor to Mr. Hanim El Mufta, a social activist from Qatar, and as we heard the other morning, a student of political science. The floor is yours.
Thank you for allowing me the floor. Through my strong belief in God's will and the endless support of my family, I have learned to accept my life's destiny. I strive to overcome numerous physical challenges on a daily basis. We all face different challenges and demands throughout our life. My greatest challenge happens to be physical. Qatar, my country, continues to be a superior leader to guide me. Qatar empowers and inspires me to do my best every day. I aim to pursue excellence for persons with disabilities throughout the world. Through hard work and dedication, I can give back to Qatar a successful platform to improve the quality of life for persons with disabilities. My family is my sturdy anchor, my driving force, my solid direction. Without them, I wouldn't have believed in myself, achieved my physical independence, my educational successes, and my ability to enjoy this gift of life I have been blessed with. My fellow brothers and sisters worldwide, I promise to represent you, to continue to fight for you as a true warrior for the inclusion clause of persons with disabilities. I assure you that I will continue to advocate for our positive future, to implement shared goals and objectives in order to facilitate a healthy and active life with education opportunities, accessible infrastructure, and skilled employment. Remember, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mufta, for this very inspiring message and for sharing the national perspective of the barriers that persons with disabilities face. And last but not least, I will give the floor to Ms. Maria Soledad Cisternas Reyes. She is and has been for the last 6 years the Special Envoy of the UN Secretary General on Disability and Accessibility. In this role, she has been a relentless advocate for advancement and equality for persons with disabilities, promoting their rights as well as universal accessibility. Ms. Cisternas, the floor is yours.
Shukran. Muchas gracias. Muy buenas tardes a todas y a todos. En primer lugar, decir que comparto la visión de Vladimir en su mensaje político de lo que significa colocar en el tapete público de manera fuerte y clara el tema de los derechos de las personas con discapacidad. Y creo que este evento en particular representa... ¿No hay traducción? ¿Hay traducción? Okay.
Inglés, ¿no? Sí. Yes. Yes, we didn't have the capacity to go through before, but now we do. Sí. Let me repeat. Good afternoon to all of you. I agree with the political discourse of Mr. Vladimir with regards to putting on the floor, on the public floor, the issue of people who with discapacities at the worldwide. In relation to the parallel event or this event that we're here for, when I saw the concept note, I felt that it was like a guiding light, a light in the world to be able to see how we have an intersection between a topic, which is the technology and digital technology, together with human reproduction of people with disabilities. It seemed very interesting to me to hear the perspective that focuses on gathering data and statistics, the percentage of reduction of people with disabilities. Secondly, how they apply digitalization with regards to sexual education and on the reproductive rights, and also with regards to contributing to so that the people with disabilities can have fertility, using certain systems of medical attention, advanced systems of medical attention, such as telehealth. Also, follow up of fertility through technological means, and the following up of the menstrual cycle, just to name a few. After this, the focus of taking into account that everything that we have been talking about is also included not only in health but also in social security. Social security, which is being called to give well-being. That's what SDO3 says, well-being to all of us at every age. In other words, taking care of the situation of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum of people with disabilities, and of course the parents who have a lot to do with these policies. Therefore, I'm about to finish my time. I would like to tell you that the experience of Qatar in this regard will be important not only for the event in October, but it will be important in 2028 when they will have a World Summit on Disability to put on the public floor this issue, which is so important for millions and millions of people around the world. Therefore, I urge you to continue and to socialize these experiences, which are with the rest of the countries. Thank you very much for your attention.
This concludes the presentations of the keynote speakers and panelists, and we will now welcome your questions, comments, and suggestions. The floor is open. I see one person back here asking for the floor.
مساء الخير عليكم جميعا.
Greetings to each and all. I'm Dr. Hiba Hadras from Egypt. As a matter of fact, I'm delighted and happy that today we are talking about reproductive health for people with disability under the umbrella of an Arab country, that's the state of Qatar, We opened this under the umbrella of the United Nations in 1990. And when I talked about the rights of disabled persons to marry and to reproduce, and I was I was faced with an attack, and I was told that I am a lady that has no respect for others. Today, the mere fact that we are talking about the rights of people with disabilities and their reproductive health, while in 1990 it was considered unacceptable, and that practice is against the bodies of hysterectomy or the sterilization of kids. Today we are talking about how we are moving away from the idea to what can we do and what digitalization will avail them of in the field of reproductive health means a lot, that we recognize that we can live independently, recognition that we are capable of forming families, and together we discuss the formation of capital, reproductive health in many and several countries through several legislations that the bodies of people with disabilities, be them children or grown-ups, should not be subjected to control of their reproductive activities. This means that we have attained a very important stage, that several rights have been recognized, that today we are discussing digitalization and reproductive health. I agree with Mr. Vladimir in all his concerns, the concerns that he we have to protect them. We have to participate in the manufacturing of this digitalization and technology, so that it will not be yet another insurmountable obstacle, be it in reproductive health or in any other activity that we carry on. However, I believe that we are moving confidently and with together present in this place now, and the member states are supporting us to discuss these issues and to project our ideas and visions. I believe that we are taking confident steps. I wish to thank the state of Qatar for organizing this side event so strongly. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. And our next speaker will be the gentleman over here.
The gentleman over here is called Dawaf, President of the Arab Organization of Persons with Disabilities. This subject is one of the last taboos that we are still facing in the disability life. We have crossed many taboos, and life was not easy, and the challenge was strong. Now, this one is one of the hottest and the most dangerous. And it has to go with traditions, with value systems, that we have to have the courage to confront it. And to be honest with you, and in my capacity as the president of the Arab Organization of Persons with Disability, I think this is the job of women with disabilities, to raise the voice and go very strong about it against us, we as men with disability first, and then as a society at large, because this is not accepted, as Hiba said before, it is not accepted at all today, that there are still practices against women with disabilities to impede her from the right to have a family, to have sexual life, to love, to enjoy her essential rights for emotion, for compassion, and for love. I hope that will be this beginning for a process that, as we started in 1980s, will continue now a new shift in this paradigm for a much humane life for every one of us. Thank you very much.
Are there other requests for the floor?
شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you very much. I believe in practical steps. We should move through science and technology together in the framework of initiatives launched by WHO, as well as the important steps taken by the League of Arab States through its initiative, which focuses on technology and how can technology serve the rights of persons with disabilities. And this should be in line with the activities undertaken in Qatar, so that we have practical patterns to work on. After that, another important points were raised by Dr. Heba and Mr. Nawaf. How can we activate the procedures that protect the procreative health and sexual health of persons with disabilities? We should elaborate a plan in which everybody should cooperate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this intervention. Are there other requests for the floor? Or would any of the speakers or panelists like to follow up on anything at this point? If not, I think this has been a very interesting and engaging discussion. Yes, please.
I would like to thank you all for coming today, and I would like to thank all the speakers because the points that you were discussing today was very important. Every, let's say, intervention, every word that you say, we learn from it. I think that we shouldn't say nothing for us without us. I think that it's a must, because I think that we will not understand what you're going through unless you tell us what you're going through. And we cannot take, let's say, serious steps unless we understand and we know for sure that we're doing the right thing. We might do something that you don't like us to do, and we might do something that you really want us to do. So thank you so much for attending today, and thank you so much for your input. It's all valuable, and I think that we need to take serious steps. I don't want to be like everyone saying that we must do this. We're still not there yet. I think that we need to really come with physical steps that will get us where we want to be. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for participating.